Now let's take a look at number 2, count and play. Now instead of whole notes, we have quarter notes. Each of those little symbols with the circle or a note head with a stem is a quarter note. You notice that within the measure, there are 4 quarter notes. Each of those little symbols gets 1 beat of sound, okay? Now you also notice that in the following measure, instead of a whole rest, or rather just an entire measure of rest, we still have an entire measure of rest, but they're identified or symbolized by quarter rests. You will see 4 of them. And of course, just like quarter notes get 1 beat, quarter rests also get 1 beat of silence instead of sound. And you'll repeat that process again on measure 3 with quarter notes, 1 beats each of sound, and then measure 4, quarter rests, 1 beat each of silence. So how do we count this? You'll notice on the very bottom below the note heads or the rests, there are some numbers with some arrows, okay? So each marking has a number that's assigned to the beat number of that measure in order. You'll notice that it starts 1, 2, 3, 4. Then on the next measure, it restarts on beat 1 again, 1, 2, 3, 4. Then again, 1, 2, 3, 4, and again, 1, 2, 3, 4. So we're always counting the beats in sequential order, so we know when the beat occurs in a timeline, okay? So, for example, if we were to count this out loud for measure 1, quarter note 1 would get beat 1, quarter note 2, beat 2, third quarter note, beat 3, fourth quarter note, beat 4. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, when you go to the rest, you still have counts or beats. However, you're just silent, but the beat is still continuing, or the metronome, the pulse would still be there. You would just feel it rather than hear it. Now, of course, we're using a metronome that you can audibly hear, but that's an example. That's just helping you, guide you to keep a steady beat so you know exactly when to come in for measure 3. So when we count this with the metronome, I'm going to always count you off 1, 2, 3, 4. All right. And then as soon as 4 is over, the next count will be beat 1, the first quarter note. Now, when you get to the rest, we are staying silent. So let's try this together. Ready? 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now you notice that I was mouthing the beats for the rest, but I wasn't producing sound, okay? Again, rests are silent, quarter notes or any kind of note is sound. Now, you also notice there's some ampersands or and signs and up and down arrows. That has to do more with my conducting as a director with Mrs. Bryant or myself. And that's for anybody, honestly, as a conductor. When we're conducting, our hands move up and down. When our hands come down or I make a snap, that's the number count. When my hand comes up and I don't make a snap, that is the and or the up beat, we call that. And that's going to be twice as fast sounding than a regular quarter note or a regular beat. For example, here's our metronome, and I'm going to conduct and snap with the beat here on the metronome, but I'm going to say and when there's no beat or metronome sound at all. Here's an example. Here's just one measure, okay? Here we go. 2, 3, 4. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Now those are called subdivisions. This helps us even more expand how evenly spaced out the sound should be in a timeline. Here it is again, just one measure. Ready? Here I go. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Now you can also do this with the metronome set with the little eighth note rhythm added on there. So you'll hear a different sounding click on the metronomes. Click, 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 click. So the lower sounding clicks are usually the actual beats, while the higher sounding clicks are the off beats or the ands. Now that's just another way of helping you out to prepare for eighth notes, because eighth notes are twice as fast than quarter notes. But don't worry about that just yet. Now let's go ahead and talk about playing this exercise on the instrument. So we talked about counting already and all the rhythmic stuff. Now, how do we play it? Well, we have to tongue each quarter note, and each quarter note is only one sound. So you have to take a breath in like normal, but as soon as we start breathing out, we have to tongue the first one, keep blowing air, and then as soon as we get to the next beat, tongue the next one. Don't stop the air, tongue the next one. Don't stop the air, tongue the final quarter note, and then you will stop the air when you get to the next beat of measure 2. Here's what that sounds like. I'm just going to do one measure, or the first measure of number 2. 1, 2, 3, 4. You'll also notice I didn't change the volume of my sound throughout the measure. I only did the articulation at the beginning of the sound of each quarter note. Here it is again, one more time. Just the first measure. 1, 2, 3. And that's what it should sound like. Let's try the entire exercise of number 2. Remember not to make a sound during the quarter rests. Here's our metronome started. Sit up properly with your instrument. Good embouchure. Tapping your toe to keep the beat with the metronome. Ready? And 1, 2, 3. And that's all it is.